What's up, everyone? My name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Coquitlam Red Gyarados, and today I'm bringing you my Week 8 match of the PCL D-League versus Storm and his San Diego Sneasels. You can see his team on the right side of the screen, and his two Z users, I believe, are Nihilego and Sandslash. So we are now amidst a dogfight for the last couple playoff spots in the Gold Conference, so I consider this a must-win game. And the last couple weeks, I haven't really felt great about the team that I've come up with, but this week I think I'm feeling a little bit more confident. So yet another week that I'm in a rush to get this game done and this team builder recorded, so we'll hop right into it. So we have Tapu Koko here. Tapu Koko is a pretty standard attacking set. It has a Shuka Berry to be able to take an Earthquake from Haxorus, can revenge kill it with the Dazzling Gleam. We don't need a ton of speed on this. It has enough speed to outspeed max speed Zapdos if he wants to decide to bring that. The one really beneficial thing for me is that his team is extremely slow. So I only have to run 20 EVs in speed with my Koko to outspeed basically his entire team. I am not outspeeding max speed Nihilego with this Koko, but that's fine because Koko can't really do a whole lot to Nihilego anyway, and I have decent switch-ins to it, I'd say. So yeah, we have Volt Switch around. If the Mamoswine comes in to be immune to Volt Switch, that's fine. I have my Melodic to switch in, and hopefully Melodic should be able to take Mamoswine on just fine. And if the Mamoswine has been weakened enough, then we can Grass Knot that to try and get the KO there. So next up is going to be Mega Latios. Mega Latios has enough speed to outspeed everything, including the Nihilego. We have a Substitute and Roost set. So the idea behind this is to kind of be able to PP stall the Bronzong out of Gyro Balls. So I can click Sub and then Ruse to waste his Gyro Balls. If he tries to go for a Toxic against me, then I'll get a Substitute up for free, and I can get Shadow Ball damage up against him. Sub is also good against the Magearna. I can, if the Magearna comes into this, I can click Substitute for free. If he clicks a setup move, then I get good knowledge of what his set is. Or if he clicks Volt Switch, predicting me to switch out, like say he's an Assault Vest set, for example, then his Volt Switch will not break my sub. I can get up a sub for free and get damage off against anything else that he might want to bring in after that. So next up we have Flame Orb, Marvel Scale, Melodic, pretty standard max defensive set. Need all the bulk that I can get to switch into the Mamoswine. Scald Recover Toxic would be best landed on the Zapdos if he wants to try to switch that into my Melodic. And then I also have Haze to stop the likes of Suicune from setting up tons of Calm Minds. And I can also Haze Magearna if that tries to set up Calm Minds or something as well. Yeah, pretty standard Melodic set. That's really the only defensive mon that I have on this team. This team is still kind of hyper offensive, but I feel like it works. Like I still have switch-ins to the things I need to have switch-ins to. Next up here we have Drapion. Adamant Nature. I know that this has enough speed to outspeed max speed Jolly Mamoswine, I'm pretty sure. Swords Dance set. So the idea of this is to be a switch in to Mega Venusaur, because if the Venusaur is going to be his switch into Tapu Koko, then I can see him, rather than just going for a Sludge Bomb, going straight for an Earthquake. I think it makes sense for him to have Earthquake on his set because, you know, my team is notoriously ground weak. I have he can just run Earthquake over Sludge Bomb to hit the Heatran. He might also have Sludge Bomb to hit the Mega Latios on switch in if he expects me to switch that into the Venusaur. But in either case, if he goes for Sludge Bomb, I'll take that fairly easily. Can set up a Swords Dance against him and try to use this Drapion as an early game breaker to break down his walls. Knockoff's going to be really nice against the likes of Bronzong and Porygon 2 to get rid of its Eviolite. And then just Earthquake, Poison Jab, knockoffs, pretty standard coverage for his team. So yeah, we'll see if we can get the weakness policy popped off on a potential Venusaur's Earthquake. That would be pretty cool to see. So next we have Golurk once again. Golurk is Assault Vest and is a decent switch in to the likes of Magearna and Nihilego especially. It resists Nihelego's Rock-type stab, and it ×4 resists its Poison-type stab. So this is going to be a amazing switch into Nihilego. But we are Brave and minimum speed. So this is going to be able to guarantee outspeed a Magearna in Trick Room, and we'll be able to do a lot of damage to it with Earthquake. Assault Vest to take hits as best as possible. Hopefully he doesn't have Ice Beam, so we can like not be 2-hit KO'd by that anyway. But yeah, we'll have Earthquake. We'll have this Golurk to switch into a couple of hits and then threaten damage against a lot of his team. This can also come in on the Zapdos. Zapdos should all that Zapdos really should be able to do to me is click Toxic. But if I have Melodic in and my Flame Orb is up, then he's probably not going to go for a Toxic against me. I mean he could. That's a fair read to make, but he could just go for a U-turn or a Volt Switch instead. But so if I get Golurk in for free against the Zapdos, that's nice. I can click Stone Edge against it, and then I'll have some mind games at play if he wants to try and roost, and then I can Earthquake him for super effective damage. And last but not least is going to be our Excelgor. This is somewhat of a safety net Pokemon, dependent on whether or not I see Haxorus in Team Preview. If I see Haxorus in Team Preview, I think I'm going to have to keep this Excelgor in the back, because I have Electric Seed on Burden to switch in to the Excelgor, assuming that he goes for an Earthquake against my Tapu Koko. See, he could be Mold Breaker Haxorus, in which case he would ignore the defense boost from Melodic's Marvel Scale. Or he could be Unnerve, in which case he would prevent my Koko from eating its Shukaberry, and he would be able to knock me out with an Earthquake. So in that case, if I have Electric Terrain up with thanks to Koko being on the field, and I can switch Excelgor in, get the defense boost from Electric Seed, and take the Earthquake relatively well, and outspeed him on the next turn and do damage to him with Bug Buzz, or I can Encore him into Earthquake so that he can't hit the rest of my team as hard with Dragon type stab. So like if I can Encore him to Earthquake and then Mega Latios comes in, then he'll be forced to switch out, and I'll have the upper hand there. If I don't see the Haxorus, I can probably just lead straight off with this thing and click Spikes, because his only hazard removal is the Zapdos defogging away, the Zapdos defog and the Sandslash Rapid Spin. And although Sandslash is a ground type and most people do bring their ground types against me, I don't expect Sandslash to come. I definitely expect Mamoswine to come and Sandslash to be left on the bench. I just think that Sandslash does not match up well against Melodic at all. Mamoswine just has that power to be able to break through things that Sandslash doesn't, but he could decide to bring both, or he might decide to bring Sandslash and not Mamoswine, but that would be pretty shocking to me if he did. Anyway, that's going to be our team this week, and hopefully we can pull out a win against the high-flying San Diego Sneasels, who currently are 6-1 in the Silver Conference, and in very strong position to be heading towards the playoffs. So yeah, they took a 6-0 L last week, so hopefully that was the beginning of their downfall that we can maybe benefit from in this match. But we will see, and I'll be right back for the battle. Here we are back with the battle, and the first thing that I noticed about Storm's team is that there is no Haxorus. The second thing that I noticed is that there is no Suicune. So without either of those two Mons present, that's really going to be able to free up the way that I use Excelgor, rather than have to preserve it to make sure that those Mons just don't set up and sweep me, and I don't have to preserve it for Encore. I don't have to preserve the Electric Seed Unburdened to be able to outspeed a Haxorus that's boosting up with Dragon Dance. I can just use it very freely in the early game to set some spikes, get some general chip damage on everything. 2/3 of his team is going to be taking damage from spikes. And then I can just use it to basically die after it gets the spikes up and get a free switch into something else. We also don't see the Sand Slash, which was a potential hazard remover for him. The only hazard remover that he has on this team is the Zapdos, so once that's out of the way, I can get spikes up to stay on the field for the entirety of the game. And then the other two Mons on his side that we don't see are the Porygon 2 and the Girder. So, as I've already made clear, this is a pretty easy lead for me. It's going to be Excelgor, and I am pretty much always going to click spikes. Doesn't matter what he decides to lead with. So Excelgor is going to come out here, and he's going to decide to lead with the Mamoswine. So I don't really care. I mean, I'm just going to set spikes against him, and we'll see what he wants to do. I'll let him do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to set rocks, that's cool. If he wants to be able to defog my spikes away, then he's also going to be defogging his own rocks away. He actually doesn't even stay in. He feels threatened out by my Excelgor for whatever reason. Goes into the Zapdos, and I'm thinking this is going to click defog right off the bat. So I bring in my Coco just to try to get some momentum off against the Zapdos with this Volt Switch. It does about 40%. So this Zapdos looks to be pretty bulky on the special side. But he actually doesn't even click defog. He lets me keep my layer of spikes up. He just gets some damage off against my Coco with the discharge, and then U-turns out against the Golurk that I brought in. I was kind of worried actually about my Golurk getting toxic there. I thought that's the only reason that he would stay in. I don't think it was really worth it for him to stay in and click U-turn there. I think he much rather would have just hard switched out into something. So I was kind of worried about taking a toxic, but I'm very thankful that I didn't on the Golurk, as he just gets the Mamoswine in against my Golurk, which forces out my Melodic. Goes for Icicle Spear, and Melodic is going to take that super easily. And now I predict him to go out into the Venusaur. But he actually switches out into the Bronzong as I get my Mega Latios in. I kind of wish now that I had made the double switch into the Drapion instead of the Mega Latios, because I was thinking that I still need some more damage off against this Bronzong for the Latios to be able to beat it 1v1. But as you can see, this Shadow Ball is going to turn out to be a clean 2-hit KO against the Bronzong, which is really nice, and I was not expecting this. I was definitely not expecting Shadow Ball to do that much to this Bronzong. I was thinking it was going to be about a 3-hit KO, but I am just able to click it twice and eliminate the Bronzong right off the bat, which is really, really nice for me. So Magearna is now going to come in for free. Takes a little bit of spikes damage, as this is exactly why I have Substitute on my Latios. I'm going to be able to sub up and scout out what this Magearna wants to do as he goes for the Trick Room. So on this turn, he's going to outspeed me and goes for Fleur Cannon, which is fantastic because he's now dropped his special attack to -2 just so that he can break my sub. He gets a crit on the sub there, so I'm glad that he gets a crit on this turn against the Substitute rather than on the next turn against my Golurk switch-in. So he set Trick Room up for my Golurk and dropped his special attack to -2. So Trick Room basically played right into my hands here. This second Fleur Cannon at -2 special attack is not going to do very much at all to my Assault Vest Golurk. And now he's going to be at -4 attack, so he's definitely switching out, but I have 2 turns of Trick Room left here, so I can click Earthquake for free here. If he wanted to bring in the Venusaur, then that was going to do the most amount of damage to that. And I still have 1 more turn of Trick Room here, so I can go for the Stone Edge, guarantee connect on the Zapdos because of my No Guard ability. And now Zapdos is gone, so I have a 6-4 advantage now. Trick Room expires, and the Venusaur is going to come in as I switch in my Excelgor. So the reason I brought in Excelgor as opposed to something like the Drapion or the Mega Latios is because now that his Zapdos is gone, that's his only source of hazard removal. So I don't have to worry about preserving like Excelgor to, like keep it in the back for an opportunity where it can actually get spikes up and keep spikes up. Because now I know for a fact that I can keep my spikes up for the rest of the game. I don't need my Excelgor for anything else on his team. I'm just going to switch it in to die to the Venusaur, get one layer of spikes up. I was hoping that maybe he would go for a grass type move on that turn, and I'd be able to stay on the field long enough to get my third layer of spikes up. But he is going to be able to knock me out with 2 Sludge Bombs. So I have 2 layers of spikes on his side of the field, as Mega Latios now comes in for free. Gets a ton of damage off against the Venusaur with the Psychic, but unfortunately I just fall short of knocking him out. So he gets a little bit of Sludge Bomb damage off against me. Thankfully he does not get the poison this time, as now I'm going to be able to knock him out with the Shadow Ball as Nihilego comes in. In hindsight, it would have been nice to be a modest Latios there, because I definitely would have knocked out the Venusaur with the Psychic, and I wouldn't have taken all the Sludge Bomb damage. And this Nihilego shows that he is Scarfed anyway, so he would have, so he's outspeeding my timid Latios no matter what. So modest would have been nice, but in the end, Latios still did very well in this game, picking up 2 kills. Did its job, so I can afford to let it go down right there. As now I bring in Golurk and try to bait in a Mamoswine switch on his side and go for the Dynamic Punch. I think I overestimated the amount of damage that would do right there against the Nihilego. I was thinking it would be an easy knockout. And at the very least, if it didn't knock it out, I would confuse it, and maybe he would hit himself in confusion to knock himself out. But I want to make sure that I preserve my Golurk to be able to take on the Magearna if he gets another Trick Room up. So I'm going to switch out into this Milotic here, as I know that he's locked into Dazzling Gleam, which is not his strongest move. It's probably the weakest move that he has on this set, especially to hit the Milotic. So even at +1, and even with my Milotic not having any special defense investment, only having HP investment, I know that I can sit here and recover up to get up to as high amount of HP as possible so that I can take hits from his Mamoswine in the back. And I know that if he switches this out, there's a good chance that when he comes back in, he will die to the spikes damage anyway, so he doesn't really have much else of a choice but to just stay in and keep clicking Dazzling Gleam until I decide to kill him off. So right here is when I decide to go for the Scald. This is the highest amount of HP that I'm going to be able to be at. So now I take him out and I have a 4-2 advantage as the Magearna is going to come in. And I'm actually going to make sure that I save this Milotic, hold on to it for the Mamoswine in the back. And I'm going to pull the switch out into my Drapion rather than my Golurk. And he is going to go for the Trick Room. So he's going to be able to outspeed me on this turn, of course. And he's going to go for the Hidden Power Ground, which he has for my Heatran that I did not bring. And that is going to activate my Weakness Policy. So I was not expecting to get the Weakness Policy off against this Magearna, but this is going to help me pad my differential quite a bit, because Earthquake now at +2 attack is going to be able to knock out the Magearna. And because this is actually quite a speedy Drapion, it has enough speed for max speed Adamant Mamoswine, I think, I want to say, or max speed Jolly, I think. And I'm able to outspeed him under Trick Room because he is a Choice Scarf Mamoswine as well. So he's brought double Choice Scarf to this game, Scarf Mamoswine and Scarf Nihilego. And the fact that he set up Trick Room for me, once again, benefited me more than it benefited him. That's going to be the game. GG to Storm. We pick up another 4-0 win. We needed this win very, very, very badly. As always, Storm's links will be in the description below. Make sure you go check out his side of the battle. So my last couple weeks builds, I've gone on record to say that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of them, but I think when you're confident in the team that you're bringing, that can go a long way. I was a lot more confident in this team, and I think it definitely showed in my play. I'm very, very, very satisfied with the way that I played this game. I think I played it near perfectly. Maybe going for the Earthquake against the Nihilego was probably the better play, so that I didn't have to switch out into the Milotic there. If I had got crit once with one of those Dazzling Gleams against the Milotic, then I could have been in some trouble. And it was probably the better play just to go out directly into the Milotic rather than go into Golurk first and then take that damage and then just have to switch out into Milotic in the first place. But I knew that Scald wasn't going to be doing a whole lot to the Nihilego, so I knew I would have to sit there and click recover constantly anyway. So at least I was able to get a massive chunk of damage off with the Golurk and then just be able to pick him off with one Scald. So the spikes from Excelgor definitely helped. He had the Zapdos to possibly defog them away, but he chose not to. I don't know if he had defog or not on his set. It looked like his set was Discharge, U-Turn, I presume Roost, and then the last move was probably a toss-up between Toxic and Defog. He wasn't able to get rocks up on my side of the field, which is always appreciated. I'm guessing his rocker was the Bronzong, but the Bronzong was only in for 2 turns and it died to a couple of Shadow Balls from my Latios. And rather than decide to get his rocks up, he went for the Gyro Ball damage against me. That's why I didn't click Substitute on that turn against the Bronzong. I didn't want to reveal my set too early. And I was also thinking that he would go for rocks on that turn rather than Gyro Ball damage against me, so I just went for damage against him right off the bat. I think that the real turning point in this match, though, was his Magearna set was a extreme momentum killer for him because I was very prepared for Trick Room Magearna. My Golurk was able to switch into the Magearna extremely easily, especially with me allowing him, or with me forcing him to go to -2 by setting up a substitute in front of his the Magearna. I guess Flare Cannon was the best move he had to hit for me. I guess he didn't have Shadow Ball or Ice Beam. I'm thinking his last move was more than likely Thunderbolt to hit my Melodic super effectively. So not having Ice Beam or Shadow Ball to break Latios' sub, and also those moves would have hit Golurk super effectively and not dropped Magearna's special attack. Clearly, it was not the optimal Magearna set to bring against the team that I brought. I think if we were to rematch in the finals, then he would definitely think a lot harder about what kind of Magearna set he wants against my team, because this week it really hurt him, actually. It played right into my hands and made the game a lot easier for me. Anyways, our record improves to 4-4. As you know, coming into this week, in the Gold Conference, there was a 4-way tie for second place. And now that has shrunk to a 3-way tie because Love and the Atlanta Aerodactyls lost their match. However, Aaron and Dorian both picked up wins. So they are now both... So now it's me, Aaron, and Dorian tied. 3-way tie for the last 2 spots. The last 2 playoff spots in the Gold Conference. So it's looking like one of those 3 is going to get the short end of the stick. But currently I still sit in that top spot because I have the best differential of those 3. But that still means that I have my work cut out for me in my last 2 games. I believe I still have a chance to actually come first in the Gold Conference if I'm able to win both of my games. But both of my remaining opponents are going to be very tough. And I still have to put my best foot forward if I even want to make playoffs in the first place. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for future PCL D-League uploads. Next week, week 9, is going to be against the Blazing Squid and his Toronto Totodiles. And they are the top spot. They are the top dogs. And we're going to have to give them a real good fight next week because we have no other choice. They're comfortably sitting in playoff position, and we are not so comfortably sitting in a playoff position right now. So we will see you next week for that entertaining battle.